Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Think Tank Consulting video blog. My name is Jamal Mustafayev and I'm the President and Principal Consultant at Think Tank Consulting. Today we're continuing with our new video series called Will Project Portfolio Management Help Us Deliver Exciting New Products and Services? In the previous segment, we talked about how to create a nurturing culture for the new idea generation at your company and some of the tricks, tools and tricks that you can do and implement in order to encourage your employees and even customers and vendors to generate new ideas. In this particular section, I want to talk about the proverbial gut feel and the concept known as the Joker Project concept. It happened several years ago. I was teaching a project portfolio management workshop at one of the very large companies in Germany, and I had, if I'm not mistaken, about 25 to 30 department heads, different divisions at that company, engineering company, very high-ranking people, and I asked them a question. Okay, guys, what are your expectations about the course? And people said, we want to learn about project portfolio management, we want to learn about prioritization, we want to learn about strategic resource allocation, etc., etc., etc. Until one of them stood up and said, you know what, I want to learn about the gut feel. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, what about the projects that score low across all of the criteria, but you haven't that feeling inside of you that, the gut feel tells you that this is a good project and you should implement it. So this is the topic of this discussion. The projects that score very low in your scoring matrices, but can still be very important, roughly speaking, fall into three categories. These are the regulatory projects. Well, regulatory project is when the government comes to you and says, you must do this. This is especially relevant to companies in the financial sector, sometimes in the telecom sector. Mobile number portability was one of the examples that many companies in different countries went through in the last 5 to 7 years. Do or die projects. It's basically a cost of staying in business. If we don't replace that banking system that we have, it can fall apart tomorrow and the entire bank operations will cease. Here's an example of that project. And the next big thing projects, or as I call them sometimes, the next iPhone project. Something that our company will develop that will take us to the next level from a, 10 million, $20 million in revenues company to a $1 billion revenues company. Let me So, do or die projects. Here's an example of a do or die project. A client of mine at North American University, a small one located in a rural part of the state, had the following problem. They had what they call internally a university ERP system, or student information management system, which included online learning, assessment, development, analysis, curriculum mapping, special education, finance and humor. So basically the entire university was running on that platform. The problem was that for, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 8 years, they neglected to upgrade that platform. And by the time we got into 2010 or 11, they basically discovered that if they don't do something about the existing platform that they have, university will probably have to cease its operations in the next year or so because the system was falling apart. This is an example of do or die project. This project will probably score very low, and you will see in a minute that it did score very low, but this is the project that you have to do. Cost of staying in business. Here is the scoring model they have. Again, vertical, strategic fit, resources required, technical feasibility, financial value, riskiness. Across 1 point, 5 points, 15 points. Again, fits one of the criteria of the strategic criteria. 1 point, 2, 3, 5, fits all 4, 15 points. Resources required, more than 300 man hours and or more than $15,000 in cost, high. 2 to 300 and or 10,000 to 15,000 in cost, medium. Between 1 to 200 man hours and between 5,000 and 10,000 cost, 15 points. Technical feasibility. Significant expertise, will need external expertise, can be implemented by internal IT employees. Financial value, between 0 and 100,000, 100,000 to 1 million, more than 1 million. Riskness, significant reputation, regulatory, financial, operational disruption risks. Some risks, little or no risks. Well, guess what? On the strategic fit, it barely fit one of the criteria. Improvement of services for students and faculty. So it got 1 point. Resources required, obviously way more than 300 man hours and obviously way more than $15,000 in cost. It required probably resources required measured in man years, cost in millions. Technical feasibility, pretty much most of the work would have to be done by the external consultants, representatives of the company that developed that ERP system. Financial value, negative. You can't show any, you can't create any model that shows you, well, we spent several $1 million to upgrade that system and yet we generated this much money. It contained in itself significant reputation, regulatory, financial, operational disruption risks. Why? Because you're basically ripping out the old system, throwing it away, and you're putting a new one. Needless to say, all of these risks were inherent in this project. So this project scored 5 points out of possible 75. And if we follow by the rules, that is the project that should have been cancelled or killed. Yet, since this was a do or die project, this project went ahead. The next big thing projects. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the first thing that comes to mind, Apple and the first iPhone that was released in 2006 or 2007. Let me show you an example. And again, I reversed engineering and took some liberties with this particular example, but hopefully you will work with me and you will see where I'm going with this. The assumptions for this particular case study. Apple does use a portfolio scoring model. I don't know if they do, but I think they do. Apple's scoring algorithm is not too dissimilar from other high-tech product companies. They seem to be fairly consistent with which variables they choose. Let's take a look. Usually, product companies, especially in the software development or high-tech, choose the following variables: financial value, competitive advantage, technical risk, commercialization risk, technical feasibility, time to market. If we're standing in 2004 and we're looking forward, imagine yourself as Steve Jobs, and you are considering the idea of creation of the first ever smartphone. Financial value, well, you're going to spend a lot of money on that. Is it going to generate a lot of money? We're not entirely sure. Will the market accept that? More importantly, will the telecom companies adjust their data plans so that the data becomes cheap and it allows you to use those phones? Competitive advantage. Yeah, there are no other products in the market. However, having said that, there were a couple of other attempts to deliver that, and they failed. Technical risk, humongous. Apple was very good with producing computers, but they have never went into phones. Commercialization risk, again, fairly high, medium to high, I would say. Will people buy it? Will people like it? Will it take off? Technical feasibility. We have some in-house knowledge about how to build computers, and we have quite good knowledge. We are very good with interfaces and stuff. We never built phones. Would we be able to handle that task? Who knows? Time to market, pretty long, because this is a brand new project. So I did my own calculations, and I invite you to do your own. If you're a pessimist, iPhone project should have scored 9 out of 50 points in the scoring matrix, and if you're overly optimistic, between somewhere around 17 out of 50 points. So would that have been a winner project if we're standing in 2004, 2005? Probably not. And yet this project went ahead, and the rest, as we say, is history. Which brings us to the Joker concept. Joker concept implies the following. If, for some reason, your project scores very low, but either because this is a regulatory project, or because this is a do or die project, or because there is a gut feel that tells you this is the next big thing project, it receives maximum points. It must be authorized by the executive boards. So for example, if your rating scale is between 5 and 50, you assign that project a score of 51, which takes it to the very top of the prioritization list. These are the top projects that you must finish before you go to the rest of the list. Lessons learned from prior implementations of this Joker concept. They should be used sparingly and only for the projects that are of extreme importance to the organization. Responsibility for the project will rest on the shoulders of the executive committee. In the next segment of this series, we will talk about the role of project portfolio management software. So this was the third episode of Will Project Portfolio Management Help Us with Implementation of New Products and Services? Please share and like this video, leave a comment, visit our company blog at thinktankconsulting.ca, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, connect with me on LinkedIn, and subscribe to our RSS feed and YouTube video channel. You can find all of the relevant links in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time for another edition of Think Tank Consulting video blog.